Hi, this is Jeannie from Trendy Tree, and today we're going to make a patriotic wreath. We have some kits at Trendy Tree that contain a work form, mesh, ribbons, and a sign. So the one that we're going to do today, we're going to use a 24-inch pencil wreath. Our 24-inch pencil wreath measure 15 inches across the widest ring, but with the addition of mesh, ribbons, and other products, you wind up with a wreath that measures 24 inches or greater. This wreath is going to be made out of fabric mesh. This is 10 inches in width and 10 yards in length. It has a polyester thread in it, which gives it a great texture. It's just a little heavier than plain Deco Poly mesh. I have 2 rolls. It's not going to take all of 2 rolls, but it will take more than one. We have a patriotic sign. It's a metal sign. It's made on a galvanized tin. And then it has an MDF sign, and all the signs are different. They're all the same size, but they all have a different wording. The first thing that I'm going to do is go ahead and prepare my ribbon strips. I think what I'm going to do today is use this USA and the 2 1.5-inch ribbons for ribbon strips, and then maybe reserve this more of the white ribbon to make a bow, or a couple of bows to go on the wreath. So we'll just start with that. So the first thing that I'm going to do is take one of the ribbons, and I'm going to cut 13-inch ribbon strips. And I have this, you can get these from Hot Mesh Mom. It's a board where you can cut your 10, 12, 13, and 14-inch strips. So I'm going to take my ribbon and just hook it over that board. There are 18 twists on the wreath, so I'm going to count my ribbon. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So I should be able to have 18 pieces. So I'm just going to cut my ribbon loose, slide my scissors under there, and cut that ribbon. It's pretty thick. You can just do, if you want to do not all of it at the same time, you don't have to. It would be easier to cut if you I'm just going to slide that off. It would be easier to cut if you just did like 9 pieces at a time, but that's 18 pieces all cut. So now all I have to do is angle the ends of my ribbon, and on my 1.5-inch ribbon I like to just cut it at an angle and not necessarily a dovetail or like a chevron cut, but you can do that any way that you want to. And you don't have to do ribbon strips. I mean, you can take your ribbon, there's 4 rolls of ribbon in this kit. You can make just all bows if you wanted to. You can do loops and tails. Any way that you want to do it. I'm going to go ahead and cut my other 2 ribbons the same way. And for right now, I'm just going to hold on, excuse me, not that one. For right now, I'm just going to hold on to this ribbon. And then just cut those ribbons, okay? Just going to hold on to that, slide it off the board. And cut those. Okay. Now on these, I'm going to cut a, okay, I gotta have 9 more, but I'll go ahead and chevron these. I'm just gonna fold it lengthwise, and then cut. And then that gives me a dovetail cut. Now, you don't have to do this, but I find it does kind of speed things up when you get ready to put your wreath together. I like to go ahead and fold my ribbon strips. It just makes it a little bit easier finding that center point when you get ready to start adding your ribbon strips to your wreath. To just go ahead and fold that, and then it'll be ready to put your ribbon cluster together. So I'm going to go ahead and do that to my ribbon strips. So I've got my ribbon strips all folded and ready to make my ribbon clusters. Now the next thing I'm going to do is cut my mesh. Okay, the mesh is 10 inches in width and 10 yards in length, and I'm going to make ruffles. So I'm going to cut 30-inch pieces. And I can cut 2 ruffles at the same time. It's not going to take both rolls of the mesh, but one roll is not enough. So I'm going to just drop the mesh off on the floor. And this is a self-healing cutting mat, and I'm using a rotary cutter, and I'll give you links for those. I'm just going to take my mesh first and just get a straight edge. And then I'm going to measure 30 inches. Let's see. Cut my mesh. I'm going to cut 18 pieces. I'll need 1 ruffle for each twist. Okay, so that should be 18 pieces. Okay, Kara will be here shortly to help me put the wreath together. She's got to pick up the kids at school. But the way to make your ruffle is just take the roll of mesh. Now, you may see some of our tutorials where we used to cut 10-inch pieces of mesh and make 3 ruffles and put 3 ruffles to a wreath. But we saw Lori Jacobs, a hardworking mom, make a wreath on YouTube. And she's got lots of videos out there. You want to check her out. She also has a teaching group. And she was using the same, not the same kind of mesh. So she just cut one piece 30 inches in length and did a ruffle, and it worked great. So ever since that time, if we're using the same color mesh, we just make our ruffles 30 inches in length. So you just lay the mesh down and scrunch up through the center. You just pull that mesh to you. You're just ruffling it up. It's sort of like making a little bow or a little bow tie. But that's what your ruffle looks like. Okay, and we're going to put one of these in each twist. But that's just a 30-inch piece. Now, if you were using 2 different kinds of mesh, you could cut a 15-inch ruffle from each piece and do that. Or if you're using 3 different kinds of mesh, you could always do the 10-inch. But the less cuts that you make in your mesh, the less ravel you'll have. Now, all mesh unravels. And no matter what you do, you're going to have to clip some strings. But the fewer cuts that you can make in it and the less handling you can do of your mesh, the less unraveling you'll have. But we're just going to start on the outside of the wreath. We're going to take that ruffle and we're going to open up that twist and just lay that ruffle down and give it a couple of turns. I'll go ahead and do a ribbon cluster so you can see what that's going to look like. I'm going to take each one of my ribbons. I'm going to take the 2.5 and pinch that up. Take one of the 1.5s and layer that right on top of it. And then the other 1.5 and just make a ribbon cluster and kind of spread those out. And then I'm going to open up that twist and lay that ribbon cluster down. Close that twist back with 3 or 4 turns, and then just kind of spread those ribbons out. And you can take your ribbons and kind of give them a little curl under if you want to. Now you'll have to fluff out your ribbons several times before you get finished. But you want to kind of spread your ribbon cluster out like that so all of your ribbons show. Okay? Okay, while I'm waiting on Carrie to get here, she's got to drop the kids off. I'm going to go ahead and start on my bow. Now, the ribbon that I'm using, of course I'm standing on it, has writing on it, and I want it to all be in the same direction. I don't want to make one loop with the bow going with the writing in one direction and then another and it be upside down. So, to do that, I'm going to cut my pieces of ribbon before I get started. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a piece for my tails, which is about 36 inches, because I didn't want to cut, like halfway through the ribbon. I wanted that, wording to show. Okay, so that's going to be a tail, and it's about 36, it's a good 36 inches, and I'm going to find the center. I'm using the Easy Bow Maker, y'all. You can use a bow dabber, you can use a pro bow. I'm using this because it's what was on my craft table today. But we sell the Easy Bow Maker on Trendy Tree. It comes in a box, and you have these little pegs that you drive in these holes. Now, when you take it out of the box, you will think the pegs won't fit in the holes. You have to kind of tap them in with a hammer. But I'm folded this will be my first tail, find my center and pinch it together, and then I'm going to drop it right down into the Easy Bow Maker, and I'm just going to pull those tails toward me out of the way. Now, I cut my ribbon strips, and I still have some ribbon left over of the other styles, so I think at least for this 1.5 inch ribbon, I'm going to use some of that ribbon also. So I'm going to make more tails. I'm going to make these probably a little shorter. You can do these any way that you want to, of course. And there's lots of different ways to make a bow. But I'm going to pinch that and drop it down in there. And I'm going to have, like 3 sets of tails coming down. I'll cut another piece. And I can trim up these tails when I get done if they're too long. And I can always trim the ends. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do one more of my printed ribbon. Find that center. So I'm going to have a lot of tails on this bow, but I wanted that ribbon to show up good. So I'm going to finish with that showing for my tail. Okay? So now I'm going to take my ribbon and I'm going to cut a 28 inch piece. Go ahead and cut a couple of 28 inch pieces. It may not be exactly 28, but I'm trying to not cut. It's working out maybe where I don't have to cut in between the words. I'm going to do 3 28 inch pieces. Okay. Now, I'm going to get my right side up, and flip the ribbon over, and I'm going to fold it. I'm going to lap those ends a little bit. And that's going to give me about a 13-inch loop. Get them evened up there. And then I'm going to find my center and then pinch that together and just slide that down in my bow maker. Or slide that down in the Easy Bow. All the Easy Bow maker is just holding your ribbon for you. So I'm going to take another one, another piece, overlap those edges, I want to keep my loops about the same size, and that one I've got a little bit bigger, so take that up a little bit, okay? And then I'm going to pinch that together, get the center, pinch that together, drop it down in there. So now I've got 2 loops on each side. I'm going to do one more, same size. Just lap those edges. This cutting board has markings on it. Of course, the Easy Bow Maker does too, but I can get to the one in front of me here a little easier. I've got my edges lapped over. I just lap the ribbon over, and then I'm going to find my center, pinch up through the center and drop that down. So now I've got 3 loops on each side. Okay, now next I'm going to do one of my 1.5-inch ribbons. So I'm going to cut another piece about 28. Going to lap it over. Find that center, pinch that up, drop it down in there. Okay, and I'm going to do one more of that. That was 28 inches. Drop that loop in there. Just kind of separate those. I think that one I did not lap quite far enough, so I'm going to take it back and lap it a little more. Okay. Okay, and now I'm going to take my other ribbon, the Stars and Stripes, and I'm going to make this loop a little bit smaller. I'm going to cut it about 26. Just going to make it a little bit smaller. Drop that in there. Going to do 2 of those. Going to be a big bow. Push that down in there. And now I'm going to come back with one more This time it's going to be about a 24-inch piece. Gonna lap that. Make sure I've got my edges lapped enough that they won't pull out. Gather that up, slide that down in there, and I'm going to do one more like that, and then I'm going to stop. Lap those edges. Pinch it together. Okay, now that's a pretty thick stack. Okay, so now I'm going to need a zip tie. And I want to press that stack down and get it, you know, as snug as I can. Compress it as much as I can. And now I want to ease my fingers under the bow. I'm going to go ahead and slide. I'm going to use the zip tie to secure the bow, but that's a really thick stack. So I'm going to be very careful, and I'm going to go ahead and slide my zip tie over the top. Ease that on up a little more, and go ahead and start to secure my zip tie underneath back here. That's just such a big stack of ribbon. I don't want to lose it. Okay, now I know my hand's in the way, but you can see that the ribbon is all stacked up, one layer right on top of the other. So I'm going to keep that stacked, and I'm going to work on pulling that zip tie tight. But before I tighten it completely, I'm going to slide a chenille stem under the zip tie. Oh, I like to. Got it too tight. And the chenille stem is what I'm going to use to secure the bow with. Okay, so once I've got my chenille stem in there, now I'm ready to go ahead and pull that zip tie tight as I can get it. And then snip off your zip tie with the wire cutters. And then you're ready to fluff out your bow. Okay, so I've got all my tails right side up and coming to the front, and then I'm ready to fluff out my bow. So I'm just going to start from the bottom. I'm not going to pull on these real hard since I, folded those ribbons over. I don't want to pull one out, but I'm going to start with the bottom loop and pull one to the top, one to the bottom. And then start with that next layer, pull one to the top, one to the bottom. Just do the same thing with each layer. Okay, so now I've got a big bow. Okay, but now I also want to cover up the mechanics. So I'm going to take, I think I'll take a piece of the Stars and Stripes ribbon, just enough to cover up that zip tie. So I'm just going to take a piece of it and I'm going to fold it. I'm going to fold it where just the stripes show. I mean, not the stripes, but the stars show, like that. And then I'm going to put that right over the center of the bow, cover up that zip tie, bring that around to the back. I've got it right between the chenille stem, And I'm just going to tie that in a knot. Okay. All right. So now we've got our zip tie covered up with the stars. Okay, so there's your bow. Now you've got it ready to hang on your wreath. So let me turn it sideways a little bit. So I'm gonna, I don't want to angle that too much. I'm just gonna, because I don't want to cut off the wording. So instead of doing a chevron, I'm just gonna angle these ends a little bit. Just kind of leave them like that. And you can kind of curl those, give those a little bit of okay. And now then our wreath bow will be ready to put on our wreath. Well, Carrie hadn't got back with the kids yet, but I'm going to go ahead and start putting the wreath together. Now, usually, or not always, but usually what I do is go all the way around the wreath doing the ruffles, and then I come back and do the ribbon cluster. But today, I'm going to make a ruffle and do the ribbon cluster, and then move on to the next one. So you just lay your mesh out there. This is a 30-inch piece, and scrunch right up through the center of it. Make your ruffle. So that's what your ruffle looks like. And then I'm starting on the outside, put that ruffle in a twist, and I'm just gonna give that twist one turn, just enough to hold it while I make my ribbon cluster. And I'm gonna take a 2.5 inch, pinch it up, take a 1.5, pinch it up, another 1.5, pinch it up, and that's my ribbon cluster. And then I'm going to open that twist back up and lay that ribbon cluster right on top of the ruffle. And this time I'm going to close the twist using 3 or 4 turns. And then I'm going to just kind of spread out those ribbons. Just want to spread them out so you can see them all. And then just move on to the next one.
Or was it recording while we were all doing all this?
Maybe not, I don't know. Carrie's here, so we got help now.
I'm
So
going to ruffle.
Carrie's gonna ruffle, and I'll make the ribbon cluster. And we're gonna try to get through because it's supposed to be stormy this afternoon. I think I can do that. I'm not sure, I may have to swap hands too many times. I was just gonna attach all this at one time. No, I can't.
Okay.
Yeah,
just
right. We're just gonna have to. I thought I could do it all in one hand, but I can't. Kids at the house?
they are.
Did you just get your nails done?
Nope.
I was gonna say I'll ruffle if you did. Mine are. Okay, now before we do, let's finish up this outside layer before we go to the next with these ribbon clusters.
Okay.
I use the USA and then the stripe and then the stars. So I'll just undo my, I'll undo my cluster and lay that ruffle ribbon cluster, I can't talk, right on top of the ruffle, and then just spread it out. Uh-oh, I didn't do that one tight enough. And we'll finish that outside. Just stack them right on top of each other if you want to. We'll finish that outer ring before we move on to the inner ring. I love these ribbons.
Yeah, the colors are pretty. They're bright.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the last one?
Mm-hmm. Okay, now we're just going to move to the inner ring. Same ruffle, same 30-inch ruffle. Now we have this Patriotic kit in 3 different styles. Really the only, well, one has navy mesh, one has denim blue mesh. They all have similar Patriotic ribbons and they all have a similar sign. The sign has just got a different phrase. So if you're on the website, you just order by the phrase. I think this one says Stars and Stripes, another one says
Land of the Free.
Land of the Free, and
one
then Proud
said-
American.
Yeah.
So essentially, you know, same supplies. Each one has either a work wreath or a pencil wreath, 2 rolls of mesh, and 4 rolls of ribbon and a sign. And that's on the website right now. Got it. In fact, I think it's on the home page if you're looking at it today. And we cut our ruffles 30 inches in length and had a little bit of mesh left over. It takes, 1 roll is not enough, 2 rolls is more than enough, but and you'll have some ribbon left over too. Well, it depends on how you use your ribbon. I could have changed clothes.
What?
What you got on your shirt?
Def Leppard.
You know how old he is? Or
He-
that band is?
112. I have no idea.
I should have 2 more after this one.
That's how many you cut.
18. I love this mesh. This is fabric mesh. It's got a little bit of polyester in it or something that just gives it a little different texture. And I don't think it ravels as bad. Well, I don't think it unravels as bad. Did you know?
Yes, you told me.
I've been using the wrong grammar.
Well, you know.
That's okay. Hey, it's okay. Somebody shows me I'm wrong and I need to know.
True.
But mesh unravels. The part that unraveled out is the raveling. So anyway, so now we know.
In case we were wondering.
Okay, so we've gone all the way around with our ruffles and now we're going to do the same ribbon cluster in each twist. And I'm just going to undo that mesh, lay that cluster down, close that twist back with 3 or 4 turns, and spread out those ribbons. I'm sort of spreading them out where the 2.5 inch is sort of in the middle and the narrow ones to the sides. See, it goes so much faster when you got help.
I saved the day. You just want to get done so you can go in there and watch the car show with Daddy.
I am not watching the car show. All that auctioneering.
Yes.
I like to watch. I need to catch up on Blacklist. If you're not familiar with Trendy Tree is Carrie and David's website, and they sell all sorts of wreath making supplies, seasonal decorations. They've got literally thousands of styles of ribbons, mesh, work forms, signs, wreath enhancements. Something you can buy, like several different kinds of like kits that's got like legs and butts and arms and whatever, heads and tails. All kinds of signs for every season, all kinds of seasonal decor, all kinds of Christmas decoration, a lot of Halloween. People are already buying Halloween.
They are.
Of course, Easter decorations, it's getting a little late for that. Easter's coming up this weekend, so. And if you see one of our tutorials and the kits are sold out, we leave our tutorials up because you can follow the same basic directions and just pick out different mesh, different wreath forms, different ribbons. And did I short you one?
Just one.
Is it in the floor? No? Okay. It's 13 inches. I cut the ribbons 13 inches today. I thought I'd be wild and crazy. Whew.
I showed up at the flower shop, local flower shop, last Friday, I think, and had bought all the little girls in there a pair of scissors.
Scissors, you wear scissors out.
Right, because I didn't buy us any, but
Golly.
I did.
Really?
I bought them a treat. I don't think I could have given them money.
They were happy. My mother worked in a factory, and she had to, whatever she did, she had to clip a lot of strings, and they had these little sharp things called nippers.
Nippers?
I'm telling you, if you messed with her nippers, you talk about somebody that would get upset.
I understand.
She kept up with her nippers. She was a floor lady too. And she kept up with her nippers. And you didn't mess with them. I mean, you might borrow them and
Nip something.
and her stand there and watch you nip and give it back, but you did not cut paper and you didn't, anyway. All right, so that's where we are so far. And you just take your ruffles from the back, just kind of push those out to the front to open up your center. And like I say, you'll have to kind of smooth your ruffles, smooth your ribbons a couple of times before you get through. So the next thing we're going to do is put the sign on. And I went ahead, it's a layered sign, and this MDF is layered, wired to the galvanized metal. So I put some chenille stems under those little wires, and I'm just going to, you don't want to push your sign down in there so far that it smushes down in your mesh. So that's why I left a full-length chenille stem. So I'm going to find my place to attach the chenille stem to the work wreath frame. And let's see. If I go with that bar right there, that'll be about center. So I'm just going to lay that there and just kind of work my fingers down in there and get to the work wreath frame. And you don't want to secure it too tightly because you might have to adjust it. So kind of get your place before you, secure it completely. Just kind of see how does that look? That look about
good.
right?
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm gonna flip it over and I'm gonna secure it to the work wreath frame.
Dot. He would like this one.
Oh, okay. that smushed up my ribbons when I turned it over, of course. That's where we are, okay? So I thought that I would just attach that bow to the bottom. Okay, so we just secured the bow kind of at the bottom of the wreath and attached it to the work wreath frame using the chenille stems. So that's it. You have a little bit of ribbon left over if you wanted to do more tails or any more loops or anything. It measures about 24 inches. Of course, all the supplies came to Trendy Tree, and these supplies are in a kit. We have 3 different variations, but this is the only tutorial we're going to do. And they're on the website now. You're holding them.
I'm sorry. I'm not crooked.
Okay, that's it. Thanks for dropping in. We appreciate it. We'll see you next time.